Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome to anyone who's new to this channel or new to this topic. Um, so here we are. We have another day of life in these amazing bodies here on this unspeakably beautiful earth. And so we're going to spend some time together, and I'd like to dedicate that time to asking what might be the most important question of what are we going to do with our time here on earth. Bruno Gurning spoke of a human birth as a precious gift, a precious gift, and pointed out that our time here on on Mother Earth, on this divine, sacred um, planet we live on is limited just because these bodies are limited. And so it's absolutely essential to make good use of our time. So I want to call all of us to really reflect deeply. I will, and I invite you to join in with me in this reflection. How can I make best use of my time? My time in this body is limited. Bruno Gurning pointed out that our soul is on a limit. I forget his exact words, something to the extent of a limitless journey. He once said, in terms of our soul's journey, this one lifetime is like this. Very, very small. So let's really reflect deeply on the fact that this is a gift and ask, how can I make best use of this gift? So, part of how to make good use of time is to fill ourselves up with vital life energy so that we can live fully and live well. And it's very easy to do that. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, open with your palms facing upwards. Back in a relaxed upright position, meaning not stiff, but not slouched either. And then, having adopted that physical posture, please close your eyes. And now hand over all burdens, all worries to a higher power. Each of us here might have a different understanding. For some people might say that's God. Some people might say that's the universe or life. Some people might have a spiritual helper whom they entrust themselves to. This channel and this work isn't about trying to all belief systems, all religions, all spiritual paths are welcome here. So whatever your sense of a higher power is, please hand over your problems. And if you don't have a sense, I invite you to hand them over to Bruno Gurning. He said he was available to help in all matters. When I first found this, I'm talking a lot. I will get to the meditation in 1 minute. When I first found this, I didn't really have a strong sense of a higher power. But trusting Bruno Gurning, asking for his help, has actually led me to the absolute conviction in God. So, with all that said, please hand over all worries, all fears, all judgments we have of other people. Let's hand over the past, including what's happened today, anything we're holding on to. Now, please hand over any physical illnesses you have. Bruno Gurning was adamant that they don't belong to us. And now, having handed these things over, please think of something that brings you much joy. And then, if you like, you can say a short prayer asking to receive healing life energy. For me, it's Bruno, please help me receive the healing stream. And then, please observe your body, having the will, the intention to take in good, healing, divine energy. Once again, noticing what you feel and having the intention to absorb good energy. Taking in the good. Handing over everything not good, which includes negative thoughts. Observing the body. Intending to take in good energy. Noticing what you feel. And so I invite people to continue this practice of observing the body, taking in good energy during the rest of this meeting, because the goal is to do this every moment, moment by moment. And we can just think of this as like a practice session. Welcome to everyone, and a warm welcome to Mila. I think maybe it's your first gathering here. I'm not sure what language you wrote in. I don't know that language. If you'd like to put it into English, I can understand it. So I'm going to share a little bit from a man named Alfred Hosp. He wrote this book, Powers of the Spirit. Cannot recommend it enough. If you're really interested in what Bruno really taught, please get this book. You can get it from the Bruno Gröning Stiftung. So this is from page 25. So they had set up a meeting, and this, when for anyone who knows Bruno's story, this is when Bruno was still connected to Mr. Meckelberg, if that's his name correctly. I'm maybe mispronouncing his name. Yes, Meckelberg. So here's what Alfred, also known as Freddie Hosp, had to say about his first meeting with Bruno Gröning. We were led into a sitting room where Mr. Gröning was already waiting for us. I sat hunched up and surrounded with cushions in an old-fashioned folding wheelchair from the 1920s, which we had borrowed from Lilo for the journey. Mr. Groening regarded my cramped posture with a frown, and then he looked at my two companions for a long time. And his companions was his mother and his aunt. Suddenly, he pointed at my aunt with an outstretched arm and said with a forceful voice, "This woman disturbs me." The expression on my aunt's face betrayed astonishment, dismay, and embarrassment. At that moment, she had no idea how she should react. My mother was the first to recover her composure and tentatively asked Bruno Grinning, "Should my sister go outside?" But his reply was shattering. "Even if she were in America, she would still disturb me." Um, so, um, so thank you, David. We will pray for that. Um, hmm, what an interesting first meeting. Um, so what, no one knew what was going on, but of course, with, learning a little bit more, Freddie came to realize that, his aunt was chronically nervous and chronically having negative thoughts. And this was Bruno's way of teaching about that. Bruno often that um, taught that he said thoughts are spiritual forces. And literally, he didn't say literally every thought is a prayer, but in essence, he said something very similar to that. He said that our thoughts, individually, much less collectively, are shape the future of this world, that our thoughts literally have that much power. So let's reflect on all this. Actually, before we reflect on it, let's take a moment and really ask for the highest and best for Samadhi, who is my god brother David's beautiful daughter. So let's really take in the good and ask for the highest and best for Samadhi. Ask that this healing energy flow to her. Really believing in the almighty power of God. Asking that everything not good leaves Samadhi's body. Thank you, thank you, thank you. David, if you're able to talk to Samadhi today, I had the inspiration to, and this is really what Bruno taught in any, whenever we're facing any kind of illness, is to ask Samadhi to hand the illness over to God or over to Jesus. I know you're very devoted to Jesus, David. I don't know her particular beliefs, but to hand the illness and problem over to God and then to ask for God's healing energy. If you feel like you can communicate that to her. The thing is what Bruno taught children And you can tell her to hand it over and to have trust and faith that she will be healed. Children are able to apply these teachings so quickly, so much more quickly than us as adults. So that's what I felt inspired to. Um, And Bruno Gröning also spoke of why he said he loved working with animals because they didn't have negative thoughts, which interfered with the healing stream. So the thing is when Bruno says thoughts are spiritual forces, it's not just that our thoughts actually have impact, but part of the impact they have is our thoughts can block the healing stream. When we say yes to a negative thought, Bruno Gröning was very clear what happens. Our soul actually shuts itself down. It shuts itself off from God because, according to Bruno Gröning, the soul is pure and all it will take in is goodness. As soon as we say yes to a negative thought, in essence what we've done is we've disconnected from God and we've connected to evil and we start receiving what's not good. That's why we don't feel good with negative thoughts, because we've disconnected from God and we've connected straight up to evil. So that's part of why thoughts are so important. Which thoughts we say yes to. Um, so let's take a moment and reflect on this. Mhm. Taking in the good. Noticing what you feel, handing over every negative thought you become aware of, and asking for a good thought. Noticing what you feel, being very vigilant with our thoughts. Really asking that our batteries be charged, that we be filled up with good energy, with God energy. So I'm going to continue reading about Alfred Hosba's first encounter with Bruno Gröning. Um, So after what I already read, that said, then Bruno Gurdine suddenly came up to me and squatted in front of me, looked deep into my eyes, and asked with great serious, "Will you help me?" In my initial bafflement, I had no idea how to begin to answer this question. I did not understand what it meant, since I had come to him because I myself was in the greatest need of help. Nevertheless, although I was rather uncertain on the inside, out of sheer politeness, I answered with a firm yes. "That is good, then," replied Bruno, grinning. And after he had spoken a few more comforting words to my relatives, he gave each one of us a small tinfoil ball that had been charged with the divine power and said, "Now go back to your lodging, have a good rest, and we'll see each other again tomorrow." So, all of us come to this teaching into Bruno for different reasons. Freddie was, the doctors had given him a couple of years left to live, so he was desperate. I was desperate. The doctors hadn't given me a couple of years left to live, but I was pretty convinced that I was going to die in a year or two. My health was falling apart. I was watching my body go to pieces. Um, so that's why I showed up to Bruno Grinning. And if I probably would have had the same response, or he was polite and said yes. I don't know what I would have said had Bruno Grinning asked me that. I would just said, "I'm desperate and open. I'll do anything." Um, but this little interaction is so important because many people have taken on the attitude that, "Oh, Bruno Grinning will do everything. I don't have to do anything. I just show up at community hours, and Bruno will take care of everything." And there can be benefit from that, but that's not what Bruno Gurney taught at all. In fact, he said, and I'll have to paraphrase, "It doesn't depend," this is what Bruno said, I'm paraphrasing, "it doesn't depend on my small person alone or the omnipotent power of God, but on the person." Now, that's a very bold statement. Bruno Gröning was one of, if not the greatest healer that I'm aware of to ever walk on this planet. God is omnipotent, and yet Bruno Gröning said that it doesn't depend on either. But, one moment, there's a little bit of a connection problem. But he pointed out that he can only help someone who has faith in God or is willing to regain that faith. And he also points out that an individual can block the healing stream. Think about that. The healing stream comes from God. God is all powerful. And yet, me and you, we have the ability, we've been given free will, and we have the ability to block power sent from Almighty God. That's how important our part is in this walk of life, to say yes to God and yes to God's power. So let's reflect on all this, taking in good energy, taking in God energy. We can always ask for Bruno Gröning for help or God for help. Because this is a learning. We're learning how to let in God's energy. We're learning how to take away the barriers we've put up to God. And it's okay, and I would say actually essential, to ask for help in that process. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in today. We're going to begin wrapping up. Hi, Diana. Hi, Birdie. Welcome to Mila, and God evening to you, Gerald. Thanks for dropping by, David. And you're very welcome, Megan. You know, I do this. Megan wrote, "Thank you for offering these beautiful teachings." And I'd like to speak to that actually. You're very welcome. And I'd like to share why I do this. First of all, I do it because these beautiful teachings saved my life. I'm about to cry. They really saved my life. And so there's this sense of, I don't believe in the word must or have to, but there's this deep feeling that I have to share what saved my life. I also share them because I do consider them beautiful. I've been around the spiritual block, the religious and spiritual block. I can't say I've studied it all, but I've studied a lot of different teachings. And for me, this is the clearest, most precise teaching I've come across for how to live life here on this earth. Because I also love Bruno Gröning and I love his teachings. And I want his teachings to be available to everyone, and I want them to be presented accurately. That's a huge part of why I do this, out of just the sheer love of Bruno Gröning and what he taught. I also do it deeply for my own growth. If you want to grow on this path, start sharing this teaching. Let me tell you, I have my learning and understanding of this has, and I'm still just a beginner, but once I started teaching it, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different to try and put it in your own words, yet accurately represent what Bruno said. It's changed my life. So can't recommend it enough. Thank you so much for that comment, Megan. Anya, I'm so happy to hear that you're happy. We're happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that you're happy. So let's take a minute and take in this good energy. Really fill ourselves up. Let's really reflect on how important our thinking is and watching it. Bruno called us to reflect on every thought, every word, every deed. That's a pretty big endeavor, but we just start one thought at a time. Is this a good thought? Keep it. If it's not, give it away and ask for a good thought. Let's reflect on that Bruno Gröning needs our help. Bruno Gröning wants to help us, and yet he needs our help, to be able to help us. We need to strive for the good. We need to receive this energy. Dear God, dear Bruno, please, please, everyone, join me in these prayers and tuning in. For everyone who attended today, the highest blessing. And for everyone who will watch this video. Dear God, dear Bruno, please, for the highest healing for each one of us, and for Samadhi too. Dear God, dear Bruno, please, for harmony in every area of our lives. And dear God, dear Bruno, please, the willingness to look at ourselves and our lives and to let go of the habits that disconnect us from God. Please, for harmony in our households, harmony in our neighborhoods, in our city, in our states, in our country. And please, God, please, Bruno, for Mother Earth, please guide each one of us what we can do as individuals to live more in harmony with nature. And for ourselves and every living being on this planet. Please, God, please, Bruno, grace and mercy, forgiveness, release from everything not good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Take care and much love.